When you think of a science lab, what do you envision? A white coat, microscopes, and chemical tubes? Well, you're quite right. Those things can probably be found in just about every biology lab at UNC. But for many labs, lab experiments aren't enough, especially in labs studying the ways that different creatures change with the world around them. They also have to collect data from the creatures themselves out in their natural habitat. This is where fieldwork comes in. If you ask me, not only is this way more fun than lab work, but it gets back at the heart of what drew me to science in the first place, allowing the researcher to go outside and try to understand the real world. In the case of the McCoy Lab, they do a lot of research out in the ocean, especially in coral reefs. So put on your scuba gear and see what marine fieldwork is all about. Let's take a look at a study where Dr. McCoy wanted to know what kinds of things these colorful parrotfish were eating and which ones were their favorites. A lot of the time, when you're conducting an experiment in the field, you want to make it as much like a lab as possible. In other words, even though you're at the mercy of nature, you want to give yourself as much control as possible. In this case, Dr. McCoy went out to the ocean, into the coral reefs near the Caribbean island, Bonaire, where she wanted to know how much of each type of parrotfish food was available to the fish. But the reefs cover thousands of square meters, so how do you measure that? It's like if someone asked you, on average, about how many people are in each house in your neighborhood. You probably wouldn't count all the people and all the houses. It'd be much easier to count the number of people in a few random houses and assume the numbers are pretty similar for the rest. It's the same idea. In the same way, Dr. McCoy picked out a few manageable squares of the seafloor, like big square petri dishes, and then just measured in each box how much of each kind of food there were. These squares only took up a little of the total reef, but she could make assumptions about the whole reef. This method of scaling up a small sample to estimate a property of a large area is extremely common in fieldwork. She did the same when counting the number of parrotfish. She swam back and forth in straight lines called transects, counting the fish and calculating their population density from there. Other methods used in fieldwork vary widely, and usually the researcher has to come up with their own methods to fit the situation. Like, what do you do when you want to watch a parrotfish eat? The researchers with the McCoy Lab literally just followed the fish around with a camera, over 10 minutes at a time. In science, there's often a concern that when the scientist looks at something, they are interfering with the thing they're looking at. This observer's paradox is especially prevalent in fieldwork, but in this case, the fish seemed to get used to the driver's presence after a minute or two. Later on, Dr. McCoy had to calculate the number of times the fish ate and what they ate and make all kinds of graphs and stuff with it. But in the field, a lot of it really just boils down to waiting and watching after you set things up. If this sort of simplifying and watching the natural world sounds interesting, maybe science and ecology is for you. A lot of ecology work is really important, especially in the context of climate change and the world is getting warmer, which is affecting a lot of species out there. Either way, thanks for listening, and I hope you learned something.